let's move into the next topic here. I was saying it earlier, and I'm kind of build off the DeMarcus Ware one. We are going to be talking about biggest camp battles of this Broncos training camp coming up very, very shortly, where fans are actually going to be able to go. Of course, it's already starting, but I want to start with that. Are you okay with it, Zach?
Absolutely.
Cool. Because
Oh, no, we were done on clips. Yeah. We're all
no, totally. I'm talking about the training camp. I was going to say DeMarcus Ware is leading me exactly into my first training camp battle I'm kind of excited to watch for, and that's the edge rushing position. I'm really excited to see what happens there, and not just who makes the team, but where everyone ends up being slotted on the depth chart, I guess, because with Randy Gregory being more of an issue, or not just an issue, he's a tremendous football player and a tremendous person, just the injuries being an issue, you're going to have somebody step up in that. Will that, Zach, be Nick Bonito? Could that be Jonathan Cooper? Could he continue to grow? Is Frank Clark a guy that is going to get more into his past years where he was a dominant edge threat? I don't know. It's kind of interesting it's going to be really interesting to see, even just when that first depth chart comes out for preseason game 1, where is everyone aligned in there? Who should I expect to play the most amount of snaps? And I'm curious, do you actually think that's a training camp battle, or do you kind of have guys slotted in your head of where they should be right now?
I think it is a training camp battle, and an important one that I didn't quite think of at first, because I don't think that battle's at the starting spots, right? Baron Browning's starting once he's healthy. Randy Gregory starting whenever he is healthy. But that second level, I think, gets really interesting. They valued Aaron Patrick as a special teamer for a long time. Can he maybe finally take the leap to being a more rotational edge guy? It might be tough coming off that ACL. Christopher Allen, he was kind of on IR all last season, but the Broncos invested in him in a reason. I know it was just as a UDFA, but they kept him around that whole time for a reason. They liked his tape at Alabama. He made it to Alabama as an edge rusher for a reason. There is a good deal of talent there. So I don't know, maybe he can join the mix. But the most interesting part is, of course, Nick Bonito, Frank Clark, and Jonathan Cooper. How is that going to shake out? Jonathan Cooper, has done some good things for the Broncos. He hasn't been the most flashy option, but he has plenty of athletic upside. I think it's kind of like a Tim Patrick deal where undrafted / late round guy, so you underrate that athleticism, but he's a great athlete. Maybe he can take the leap to not dominance, but just being like a solid piece of this rotation that they can rely on. Same thing with Frank Clark. And can Nick Bonito knock either of those two guys off their perch? I mean, you would hope him to. He's a second round pick. The Broncos invested a good deal in him. It'd be nice if he's not the third guy coming off the bench and the fifth guy in that rotation.
Yeah. So if you were to predict it, Zach, how do you think it would go after that?
So you got your two starters. I think it's going to be Jonathan Cooper and Frank Clark, the next two up, and then Nick Bonito. This staff is not tied to Nick Bonito. Jonathan Cooper's been a better NFL player so far, and I think that's going to continue. I think Jonathan Cooper's underrated, and Frank Clark, they signed him as the proven veteran for a reason. He's going to eat a good number of snaps, and I think he can provide pass rush help and some early down help in the run game, while I think Bonito probably remains a designated pass rusher.
Okay, that's interesting.
How do you think it shakes out?
I kind of agree with you. I think when you're looking at snap counts, it's going to be a little more difficult to tell, because I imagine on your third and long situation where a pass play is coming, you're going to want Nick Bonito in more than the other guys, or at least you would hope so, because that's why was a second round draft pick for the Denver Broncos, is exactly for that type of situation, just to get after the passer. So I think it's kind of situational or dependent on what the down and distance is, right? I think that's kind of how it's going to be played out there. But Zach, do you have a training camp battle you want to highlight?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's start at cornerback, where you and Bree have been hating on my man, Damari Mathis.
No, I'm going to repeat myself from earlier. Okay. Gonna repeat it. I think go, and then I'll rebuttal. Okay.
Sorry. Yeah. I know it might not be the best scheme fit for him, but I'm honestly not that concerned about it. He's just about as big, just about as long, more athletic than Riley Moss. I think he can, and Riley Moss is a very athletic cornerback. But I don't know. I think he has the capability to play on an island. The tape might not be there yet, but he has good NFL tape, and that's something Riley Moss does not have. And Demarius Mathis has a good deal of good NFL tape in that 1 year, and all the athletic upside in the world to keep building on it. Maybe this staff forces something, and you see Riley Moss start, but cornerback is a hard position to play in the NFL, but probably the hardest outside of quarterback. It's difficult to come in as a rookie and steal an established starter's starting job. And I think Demarius Mathis is an established starter after what he showed last year. That said, you can't deny the draft investment the Broncos made in Riley Moss. So it's certainly going to be a battle. It's, I think, the only battle at a starting premium position. Edge, there's a battle, but it's further back. The starting tackles, we know who they are. Starting quarterback, we know who that is. This is really the only premium starting wide receivers. We know who they are. This is the only premium position with a battle in one of those starting spots. So it's one I definitely have my eyes on.
Okay, well, it's Zach. I have to say, it's not that I'm hating on Demarius Mathis. I just think that Demarius Mathis is the better corner. I do. I think that he's a better corner than Riley Moss. My whole thing here is that I don't think Vance Joseph is going to play Demarius Mathis. That's my whole thing. I don't think so. Because when I look at it, when I actually start breaking down, why did the Broncos draft Riley Moss? And then I start comparing Riley Moss to Demarius Mathis. What is Demarius Mathis good at compared to what is Riley Moss good at? Guys, there's not a lot of similarities here. So what does that tell you? It tells you that Van Joseph wants to go away from the style of cornerback Demarius Mathis is and move more in the direction of Riley Moss. So I think that if Riley Moss makes it a close matchup there, he's going to win the job. That's what I think. I think that Van Joseph wants to run a certain thing, and that's why Riley Moss was drafted there. Riley Moss is never going to be a man-to-man corner. He just literally will never be. Why was he drafted as highly as he was, though? Because Vance Joseph wants to run the system that Riley Moss best fits. I think that it's as plain as simple as that. He's carrying people up the sideline. He's big, he's tall. He's playing cover one, cover three. This is the type of corner he is.